Moments with God, a time of reflection for every day.
May 3rd, Teaching the Fear of God. For I know him, that he will command his children and his household after him, and they shall keep the way of the Lord to do justice and judgment, that the Lord may bring upon Abraham that which he hath spoken of him. Genesis 18:19. Perhaps there are not many children who follow the good example of their parents. It is likely that many only remember the teachings they received as children, but when they grew up, they have taken different paths from what they had learned. Well, in most cases of Christian parents, their children are inclined to leave the faith, or in any case, remain oblivious to spiritual things. Many children say, "I will not change the beliefs that I received from my parents." However, they do not act in the same faith as theirs. It is hard work to instruct children in the fear of the Lord. It is constant and patient work. It is a work that is done with the power of God because we cannot do it alone, but with the Spirit of the Lord it is possible. This was the case of the patriarch Abraham. God had confidence in him and had promised to increase his descendants like the stars of the sky and the sand of the sea. God himself declared himself a friend of Abraham and was sure that the patriarch would guide his house and all the people who were with him to remain in the fear of the Lord. Abraham's family numbered more than 1,000 people at the time he lived in Canaan. These people were his servants and servants who took care of his house and his flocks. They were people who appreciated and loved the patriarch and were willing to follow him wherever he went. In addition to believing what he believed and doing what he did, but how is it possible to have so much influence? It was not because he gave them work, but because his life itself was a reflection of the character of God, and people enjoyed being next to him. Abraham had taught them his faith, and every day he led them in his morning and evening services to the prayer altar, where they could offer their offerings to God and understand God's salvation. So Abraham's influence was a blessing to every family that was close to him. But God said something else about Abraham. The Lord declared that after the death of the patriarch, his children would remain in the same faith, that the influence and teaching of the patriarch would be imitated by his descendants for many years. Thus, the nation of Israel that came out of Abraham had the same principles that the father of faith had. God could trust Abraham because he would command his family not by dictatorial methods, but by clear precept and consistent example. Well, in the education of children, every word, look, and act has its effect. And it is sad that in many homes, very little is taught by instruction or example. Parents are responsible for the sacred mission of educating their children, and therefore, they should combine firmness with love as Abraham did. This task of educating children in the proper way cannot be delegated to another instructor or teacher without the danger of serious loss. The law of God had appointed to each man his obligations, and only through obedience to said law could happiness and prosperity be obtained. And this was Abraham's teaching. He feared God through obedience, and with it there is blessing. Therefore, let us strive to obey the Lord and to instruct our people in the fear of God. Amen.
Thank you for listening to this audio. We invite you to share with your contacts and visit the website BibleWell.com.